welcome back to another video. I have Botanicum here by Trolle. Very recently I shared a video where I was coloring a page in this book, and I colored it using my Derwent Inktense along with my Derwent Graphitint. And I've been having a lot of fun using these pencils together, so I wanted to continue with the page. I had mentioned in my previous video that I wanted to color the castle on that same page with all of the buildings in shades of gold. So since I was going to do it anyway, I thought it would be a lot of fun to pull out my camera to share my thoughts and my ideas as I go through the process. If you check the description box down below, you'll find links down there to my email list, my Facebook group, my Etsy shop, and my Patreon if you would like to support me there. I also now have channel membership. You can find more information out about that by clicking the join button down below the video. So here's the page I was coloring, and I colored this building in the last tutorial using both the Derwent Inktense and the Graphitint. And so I wanted to color this building here in the center. It looks like a church or some kind of castle, and so I just thought it would be really pretty colored in shades of gold. And so while I was putting together shades of gold with my Derwent Inktense, I wanted to be able to share that and my thought process as I go through choosing the colors and laying the colors down onto the page. So I have my swatch chart. We need to go ahead and pull the colors we're going to use to create our shades of gold. I have a scrap sheet of paper here, and we're going to go ahead and test out these colors. In the Derwent Inktense set, we have a lot of really pretty shades that could be used for golds. You can move down here if you wanted to and add a bright pop to your gold, which I don't think I'm going to do. I want something a little bit more classic looking for my castle or church or whatever it may be. But I think I'm going to go with the Sicilian yellow, which is one of my absolute favorite colors. I'm probably going to leave out this golden yellow because that seems to have a whole lot of orange in it. But the sienna gold is very, very pretty. But I don't know if that one has too much orange in it. We are going to test these out and we will see. So let me go ahead and grab my Sicilian yellow and then the sienna gold. And then we're going to need something that has a little bit more brown in it. So I'm going to come down here to this section, and I've got the willow here, I've got this saddle brown, the tan, the amber, and the mustard. So I've got quite a bit of colors here that could be used for this. I think the first one I'm going to choose is the mustard, and I need to add something to that that's a little bit darker because we're going to have to create quite a bit of depth and dimension. We're also going to need something that is much more brown, and I may pull my brown in from my Graphitint set. So I think I'm going to go with either the amber or the tan. It looks like the amber is a bit darker than the tan, so maybe I'll go with that one. Let me go ahead and grab the amber. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what we can come up with some of these colors. That was the Sicilian yellow, and I'm going to add the sienna gold onto that, and I'm going to go ahead and blend those together. I have my Derwent water brush, which I absolutely love, and I'm just going to go over these colors and see what happens when they blend together. I don't know, blended together they are quite pretty, but that might have a little too much orange in it. So I put out the sienna gold, and I have the Sicilian yellow, and I have the mustard. So we're going to see if that creates a prettier gold. Yes, I think this one is much better. I think that's more of what I was looking for. So I think I'm going to start with those two colors. And I have my saddle brown too, and let me see what this one looks like. I may need that. I don't know yet. I really do like this sage from the Derwent Graphitint set, and I think that might make a really pretty combination to create shades of gold if I use just a very little bit of it. I don't know, that does have a lot of green in it. Let's see where this goes and see what we can come up with. I'm going to put that pencil aside and we're going to see what happens. I think I'm going to go ahead and start by laying a base of the Sicilian yellow, and I think I want this color everywhere. Now this is a pretty big building, but I want you all to see the whole entire process, so I may end up speeding parts of this up, but I really want you all to see the whole entire thing, my entire thought process, how I put together the colors, and how I decide where I lay those colors. Okay, so now I have the mustard, and I'm just going to blend some of this color in to some of the areas where I want a little bit more depth and dimension. So I'm going to have a little bit more of this right around the windows because I like to have a lot of depth and dimension around things like windows, so that way they look like they're actually a separate part of the building. And I have not decided yet what color I'm going to color all of the windows, but I want to use something that is going to stand out quite a bit from the rest of the building. And then over here where we are connected to this other building, I want them to look like two separate parts. So I want to make sure that it is a little bit darker right over here. I do want to be able to see that Sicilian yellow, creating a highlight in certain parts of the building. But what's going to create a really pretty gold, I think, is the blend of these two colors together. Now it's really quite difficult sometimes to stay out of the little tiny spaces like in the windows and such, but I don't really worry about that. If you saw my last video, I went into those spaces just a little bit. It's a really easy fix. You just go over it with another color and it disappears. I'm going to go here along the bottom and I'm going to pull this color up just a little, and I'm going in a circular motion just so I could blend it into the other colors. So I always use a napkin when I'm using my Derwent Inktense or anything that requires water. So let's go ahead and start spreading some of these colors and activating them. The blend of these two colors I think is going to be really, really pretty. But if you're familiar with the Derwent Inktense, you know that you can activate them, and then once they dry you can come back and add some more color, and that really helps to create all that extra added depth and dimension. I'm noticing when I drag the mustard into the Sicilian yellow, it's creating a much prettier shade and more of like what I was imagining this was going to look like. So I'm probably going to add a little bit more of that. And all of the areas that I had just left white, I'm just pulling the color into those spaces. Okay, so it does look pretty gold, but it doesn't have enough depth and dimension. And to do that, I think we're going to have to add in one more color. So I have my swatch chart for the Graphitint. And looking at this, I'm wondering if I want to go with that sage for the roofs. It's kind of like a greenish, goldish, brownish. I don't know, it's a really pretty color though. And holding that color or that swatch up against the rest of the building, I think that would be really pretty. I was thinking of using that to add some more depth and dimension to the gold, but I think I might use something with a little bit more brown in it for that. Let me go ahead and try that. Let me go ahead and try to add the sage to create some more depth and dimension here. Let me go ahead and add a little bit. Now, I don't know how this is going to look because this building over here has a lot of green in it. I'm thinking I like it already. It's making it look really rustic-like. Oh goodness, I think I love this. Let me check though and make sure it's going to look okay once I add some water to it, and then I'll move on. Oh wow, I love it. Oh, this was a good decision. That looks so pretty blended in with those other colors. It still has that shade of gold from the other colors, but it makes it look sort of like one of those really old buildings. Oh my goodness, y'all. These pencils are so much fun, especially using them together like this. Okay, so now I'm going to be stumped on what color I want to do for the rooftop, because this has changed it up quite a bit. Oh, I think I love that. And you know what? I'm going to grab my mustard and I'm going to blend a little bit more mustard right into this color, because I think this is going to make a huge difference. Oh wow, I'm really starting to love this now. See what happens when you just play around with your colors and experiment just a bit. It changes things up so much. I think we're going to go ahead and do the tiles next. And for the tiles now, we're definitely going to go with browns. And because I used red over here, I am not going to use a brown that has a lot of red in it. So here's some of my colors in the Derwent Inktense down here where the browns are. These down here are much, much darker, but I don't want to go that dark. I think I'm going to go with the oak. I really like this baked earth, but I don't know. I think I might go oak and the saddle brown. I think those two will be pretty. Let's go ahead and try those and see what happens. So we're going to use oak and saddle brown. Oh, I changed my mind. I want to use the russet, and I want to use the russet with something from the Derwent Inktense. So I'm thinking that russet and saddle brown will look really pretty. I think the russet is much prettier than the oak. So we're going to go russet and saddle brown. So I had to make sure the tip of my pencil was rather sharp because I've got quite a few little tiny spaces to fill in, and I'm going to go through here and just add the saddle brown all throughout the roof tiles. This is going to be my base color, And then the other color is going to be the color that I'm using to add the depth and dimension. So it's okay that I just go ahead and spread this color all throughout the whole entire roof. I'm not worried about creating separation quite yet between each one of these little tiles. I'm going to go ahead and add a second layer with this color, and I'm just going in a circular motion, but I want to get quite a bit of the color down here the first time so that when I come back and activate it with water, I've got plenty of color down there for the color to be able to move and do what I want it to do. Now I have the russet from the Derwent Graphitint set, and my tip is rather sharp because I'm going to have to come in here with each one of these little individual pieces or tiles and add some of this color. And I'm wondering if I should have activated the other color first and then came back in here and did this. I guess we're going to find out. And that's only because these pieces are so super tiny. I think actually I do need to do that because I don't want this darker color to pull through everywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and activate them and then wait for the color to dry. Look at how much extra added depth and dimension that just created. And look how teeny these little spaces are here. The russet is going to make a huge difference. And hopefully this will dry fairly quickly. But I need to wait for that section to dry, so I'm going to grab my Sicilian yellow and I'm just going to go over these sections here. So now I'm just activating these first layers. So I thought my camera was on and it wasn't. I just came in here and filled in each one of these triangular sections at the top of each one of these arches. I used the Sicilian yellow. I'm going to come back and use something else. I just don't know what yet. I wanted to just get it out of the way and get it done so that it was dry when I came back to add a little bit more depth. So now I have the russet, and I'm going to go through every single one of these little sections to create extra depth and dimension. And this is what is going to change this up quite a bit. To use my water brush, and I am using the number 1. This one is the one that has the very thin tip on it, and I'm just going to go over everywhere that I just laid that color. You can see that it intensifies quite a bit, and it's going to create all that extra depth and dimension. And I also need to go all through here and create a little bit more depth and dimension all throughout these structures on the top of the building. And it looks like I forgot what looks to be like a little chimney. I'm using the Sicilian yellow and the sage for this. Probably should add just a little bit of mustard in there. Now my page is already wet, so you can see that color is really going down there. I'm just going through here on all of these little tiny lines, and I'm adding a little bit of color. The lines are so small that it's almost difficult to be able to line them and create the depth, so I'm just trying to create what looks to be separate sections. Russet, and I'm going to start trying to create separation in some of these sections here. I don't want to sway away from the golds and the browns, but I want everything to look like they're separated from one another. So I'm going to go all through these areas, and I'm just going to try to create a little bit more depth without taking away from what we already have going on. And you can choose to add water when you're using these pencils, or choose to not add water. And whatever you decide to do with either one of these sets of pencils, I think you're still going to be really happy with the results. But with something like this, trying to go over every single individual little line, that's probably going to get a little tedious. So I'm just trying to create depth and dimension where I can. I think I'm going to go ahead and color these in with the Sicilian, because I'm really challenging myself to keep all of these sections separate from one another, but still keep with that tone of gold and not stray away from using a lot of browns. So the color I'm using right now is the russet from the Graphitint set, And I'm just blending some of that in there with that Sicilian yellow. I'm going to blend some of the mustard right into that darker color. And now I'm going to come back and start adding some water. And I'm going to start here where I've got the brightest of colors, and then I'm going to move outward where I've got the darker colors. And I'm going to pull it in just a little bit. The next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and color in the windows, because I think that's really going to change up the way that this looks. I'm going to make the outer frame of the windows and the inner frame brown. So I think I'm going to use the same color that I used up here in the tiles of the roof. I'm just going to go around and add this color on every one of the windows. This is the russet, and I think this is really going to make the windows stand out quite a lot. And I'm not pulling the color down all the way, because I'm going to use my brush to either spread it around, or I'm going to add in another color with this. I haven't decided yet, and so that's why I'm doing it like this. And then these windows here are so teeny tiny. Okay, so I think I am going to do the insides the same way. So let me just add some color on the insides of each one of these windows. I really think this is a church. I don't know, y'all have to let me know what you think in the comments below, but I just thought it looked really pretty, and I just really wanted to color it in shades of gold and see what I can come up with. Oh, I like that. It's doing exactly what I want it to do. So that's why it's so important sometimes to go ahead and use the white of the paper, because it makes such a difference, and it actually makes it look like I used more than one color, because the color is really intensified in the areas where I added the color, and then as I pull it and spread it, it pulls it into those other areas where I just left it white. And I really like that. It gives the windows a little bit of character. I need to do the insides of the windows. So just as I did over here on this building, if y'all saw that video, I used the sherbet lemon. It creates a very beautiful pop of yellow. And so I'm just going to add this into all of these windows. We always have to have a beautiful reflection inside the windows. And if you saw this video, I made it look like the reflection was actually reflecting out onto the building, but I don't think I'm going to do it on this one. I like the way this one looks. And then up in here, I want quite a bit of this color. Then we just need to use our water brush and activate it, because it brightens it up quite a bit. I think I'm going to come around the building one last time, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to create a whole lot of added extra depth and dimension by using a brown. I'm going to go ahead and grab the oak, because I feel like the Derwent Inktense, when they activate, they get a little bit more intense than the Graphitint. And so to create the extra added depth and dimension, I'm going to go ahead and use this color. So let me go ahead and just go around here everywhere where I want just a little bit more depth and dimension. Okay, so now we're just going to go through and activate it with water and spread that color out just a little bit. And again, I'm not using very much water at all. And I do need to pull that color up just a little bit and blend it into these other colors. So I am just coming over it all with the Sicilian yellow, just to bring it all together a little bit more and create a blend of those colors so that we're not seeing a whole lot of brown. Okay, so my gold building is done, and I really like the way that it turned out. It looks very rustic looking. I feel like I could have maybe added a little bit more depth and dimension, but I wanted to stick to the color theme and just create golds, and I wanted to challenge myself to make the whole thing gold and not go too far out of what I was trying to do by doing the tiles on the roof. And so I stuck with browns for the tiles on the roof, and these pencils just work so well together, and I love using them with one another. If you would like to see more, please let me know in the comments below. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Happy coloring. Bye.